Hello everyone, to another Digilogue collection series video. This is a bit of an unplanned video. I wanted to do a comparison between the voice capabilities of Intellivision and Magnavox Odyssey 2. Just play a few games, touch their voice modules to each one of the consoles, and then see which one is better, which one sounds better. So when I was trying this last night, preparing, I realized that my beautiful Intellivision console does not work anymore. So what happens when I power it on, plug in a cartridge like this one, like Skiing, and power it on, all I get is a black screen. No matter what channel I select 3 or 4, and I sync the TV to 3 or 4 as well, I get a black screen. So there's definitely coming out of the console because it's not the noise, but it's a black screen, but it's not the game, and it doesn't matter if I reset, power on, power off, and all that. So this was working, and in fact I actually did an earlier repair to it. There was an issue with the power switch. The power switch did not turn the console properly on, but I know the console is on now because when it's off, the TV just shows me noise. Anyway, so I can't do any voice expansion comparison until I obviously make it working. So let's do that. The first thing it's obviously it's unplugged from the power. I'm just going to open it and then make sure nothing is loose inside. And then I'll use hopefully use a scope and figure out if there's breakage in the trace or in the traces, or does anything make it out to the antenna output. So let's do this. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. I opened it before, so it shouldn't be too hard. The Intellivision was actually a fairly simple console to look at and open. It's one. I also tried multiple games. I thought maybe something wrong with one of the games I was trying, but that wasn't the situation. Any game I tried comes back with a black screen. Now this console has been moved. In fact, it traveled across the country from West Coast to East Coast. So it is possible that during the move something is unseated inside, or hopefully no other major damage occurred. All right. 4, 5, and 6. This occasion you get to see what is inside an Intellivision. There you go. There you go. This is the console. There's the power source. The board is underneath, and the cables for the controllers are still actually attached to the front. This is the power switch. Like I said, it used to give me problems in the beginning. All right, so let's open it, and we'll take a look inside, see how it looks inside after I open. All right, so I managed to take the cover off the console, just to find out that there is a lot more screws to take off before we can actually get to the logic board, which, as it turns out, it's enclosed in a metal cage that is soldered at the edges. So I take it back. It's actually pretty hard to open an Intellivision and get to the actual circuitry. Just the power supply is here visible, but everything else is in this metal cage. Anyway, so while I was playing with it, I realized that actually the console is not entirely dead. So if I turn it on, it's the black screen as you would expect to see. However, if I touch here, which is basically where the reset push button touches, like this, I can actually get it to work. So I have the golf game cartridge put in. There you go, and actually controllers do work. I played with it earlier. There you go. So, and if I turn it off again and turn it back on, I'm greeted again with the same black screen, and I can bring it over. So, as you can see, it's fine. My guess is there's some contact inside there that's just not very well set up, such that when I press the reset, everything works. So the next step is desolder all this and take a look at the board and see what we can fix. Okay, so when you open the top cover of the Intellivision, it has this extra bar in place which has 6 screws they have to remove. And once you remove that and you get it to the side, like I mentioned, you have the power supply, the transformer, and the logic board. Now the logic board is, unfortunately, like I mentioned, in a metal cage where the top and the bottom are actually soldered. So you can see there are 3 solder points here, 3 more here, and so around. And obviously you have to be careful. Those 2 cables here for the 2 controllers and the power. They have power cables, and the cartridge slot is over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my soldering iron and try to basically desolder each of those connections. I believe there's 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9 plus 2, 11 those soldering points, and I'll first very carefully, as you can notice, the cables for the controls are very, very thin, so very easy to break those, and very hard to repair. So I will attempt to remove those, and then once I disconnect it from those, I should be able to just start working on those. While this is still doing that, we'll get to work. Okay, so to remove the controller connectors, you just need to gently pull on them. There you go, like that. Yeah, very, very, very thin wires on those connectors. Very easy to separate, and the same for the other one. Now, I don't think I can remove the power unless I remove it from the actual from the board. Yeah, there you go. So the power is off as well. We only have the connector number 2, which I'm going to attempt to take it out in the same way. Just like that. I can remove it by hand, looks like. There we go. The only thing that we have is this power cable. That's it. Now the logic board is separated, so now I can start working on the soldering points. So I have my soldering iron and my wick. Okay, so I have my wick. It's happening. It just takes a little bit of time. There's a lot of solder here. There you go. That's one. Let's do this one too. All right, I'll do all of them, and then I'll get back to you guys when everything is already open. All right, so I managed to desolder the top cover, and that is what's underneath. So this is the logic board of Intellivision console. I took a look. This is the sound chip, AY3A914. We have ROM chips here, and those 3 over here have what looks like heat sinks on them. I assume those are the logic chips. And this is the TV encoder. The channel selector, 3 and 4, and the reset is actually underneath here. So this is the reset. That's the one we press, everything works. So I'm gonna give a visual look. I'm gonna clean it, make sure everything is put in. The good thing is that all the chips are actually in sockets, so we can basically gently press on them, make sure everything is fine. And then I'll actually connect the controls, the power in the game, and run it just from the board, and then see if we can see anything on the screen. Okay, so I plugged in the power into the board, the two power connectors, as well as the TV out and the game cartridge, and then it seemed to have signal on the TV, and the game seems to be fine. I cleaned it up, and it's basically working. If I change the channel, and the signal, putting the channel back. So yeah, everything seems to be fine. I've reseated all the chips, and like I said, cleaned it, and I guess let's put it back together and see if we have a working console. Alright, so what have we done? Well, we played around with the Mattel Intellivision console. This was, like I mentioned in the beginning, an unplanned episode, because what I really wanted to do is to compare the voice capabilities of Odyssey 2 in Intellivision, but this wasn't working. We had to take care of it. And the lesson that we learned today is that Intellivision consoles are really, really hard to get into and open them properly. I've never seen until now a piece of electronics that is surrounded by a metal cage which you have to desolder to get inside. But anyway, we did it, and then we fixed it, and now it's working. I'm playing golf. So I'm looking forward to actually filming the episode I did want to film, which is try the bumper game on this one. I have two voice pack games on the Odyssey 2. So yeah, well, there you go. Now we know what's inside Intellivision. So thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.